What they did to me, what I am, that can't be undone.
Like when I rose from the ashes again, they are regrouping.
I can hear their salachimorphic brainwaves. They're hungry for human flesh. That I can tell you.
What? Not even the lightning strikes I conjure and rain down on them is enough?
The professor's right. I took their shape and swam with them. It is only going to get worse.
Professor X here. That was a snippet recording of our first meeting to discuss how we can stop the shark menace on our beaches. What follows is our top secret plan to save humanity's beaches from the scourge of the sharks. As a valued part of our mutant ally network, we're counting on you to see the writing on the wall and help us save humanity wasn't enough.
Our idea is simply fantastic. We have the technology. We can make the beaches safer than they are. We have two drone models, the X1 and X2, and customize them with our advanced artificial intelligence born of the brain power of Professor X, the ozone algorithm pioneered by Mystique to spot sharks, the rescue pod designed by Dr. Jean Grey, and the alarm and magnetic deterrent designed by me, Storm. The X1 model is the eyes in the sky of the operation, a light and versatile surveillance drone. Magneto competes in X1 product category. The X2 model is the rescuer, built to save people from the vicious jaws of death with its long range and advanced capabilities. Our X2 drone is the only product in its category. We also provide pilot training to our clients. World domination! I mean, saving the world! It has to start somewhere, so just as the prophesy foretold, we are launching into the Australian market from 2019. By combining the length of beaches, the population density, and the number of shark attacks and drowning, we will focus on 230 prime beach locations across New South Wales and Queensland. Regardless if we cannot completely defeat Magneto's plans to dominate the Australian market, Project X will be expanding in year 5 into both South Africa and California. The life cycle of X1 and X2 is 2 and 5 years respectively. Considering the total market size, the new units and renewals, and Magneto's response, we estimate a market share of 58 units of X1 and 8 units of X2 by year 5.
Hey, it's Professor X here. For me, it comes down to the cash flows. I have used the REIT method as the basis to calculating our cash flow projections for the first 5 years of the project. We require a 30% rate of return on Project X, and I have also factored in a 30% tax rate. From the 6th year onwards, we have assumed a 10% growth rate growing in perpetuity. I'm sorry to say, and trust me, I have run the calculations multiple times across multiple dimensions. The cash flows are negative for the first 3 years and only positive from year 4. It is very disappointing that because of this, the payback period is past the 5-year mark. As you can probably tell from what I've just said, the NPV for Project X is disappointingly negative. When we go out on a mission, going in pairs is the best way to ensure we win. We have made the same assumption when it comes to X-drone pilots. For each X-drone we sell, there will be 2 pilots to be trained, with X1 selling for $30,000 and X2 for $150,000, and the price for pilot training at $2,499 for X1 and $4,999 for X2. Based on our assumption of growth at 15%, our revenue growth figures look great. Between year 1 and year 4, our revenue for the X-drone alone grows from $585,000 to $1.9 million. Including the pilot training, it looks even better. Frustratingly, and to the whole X-Men team's consternation, this doesn't equate to accounting profits at all on account of Project X's high fixed costs, which I'll hand over to Dr. Jean Grey to discuss.
Thanks, Professor. Our costs are split into fixed and variable. Our variable costs are thankfully not affected by holding inventory, as our just-in-time product purchase and customization system means we only purchase the extra models when an order is placed to then customize at our office in Sydney with turnaround time in 7 days. Our model also assumes fixed overhead related to pilot training growing at 2.5% per annum, with fixed labor cost of 8 staff, inclusive of X-Men management growing at the same rate. Our fixed office cost, including the pilot academy, is also assumed to grow at 2.5% per annum. One thing that's really exciting about Project X is the relatively low investment in dollar terms. The only investment anticipated from the start of Project X in year zero and into the future is for software and servers. IP and trademark registration inclusive of lawyer fees, company registration for AB and GST, and website development are expensed out as R&D expenses in year zero. Storm said she's delighted about the fact we pay no tax for the first 5+ years of Project X. It's an if you don't laugh, you cry situation. Due to the high amount of accumulated losses in the first 3 years of Project X, it means no tax payable till after loss recovery despite accounting profit in year 4 and 5. A straight line is the quickest way to get somewhere. So that's what we have done with our depreciation, which gives a book value of $0 by year 5 on all our assets, at which point the professor and Mystique will scope out the latest heuristically programmed algorithm 9000 model. Since we are making accounting profit from year 4, it will be prudent to strike the iron when it's hot and expand to international market after year 5.
We tiptoed around this earlier, but the NPV I calculated based on the REIT methodology comes out negative. Professor X has convinced us to do the right thing and reject Project X. Mine and the rest of the X-Men's disappointment is compounded by the fact that the IRR is also in negative territory. Ditto the payback period, we just can't get a break. The Prof and I want to understand this better, so we conducted a sensitivity analysis to see what variables are the primary effectors.
Wolverine, Storm and I conducted a sensitivity analysis on the NPV for the fluctuation of the exchange rate. If the Australian dollar appreciated against the US dollar, the positive effect on Project X's NPV was immediately obvious. Conversely, a depreciation had a negative effect and worsened Project X's NPV. Due to the professor's advanced wetware artificial intelligence, we have a monopoly in the market for Model X2. The same cannot be said about X1. If the market share drops anything below 35%, it results in a negative NPV. Storm's insights about this analysis tells us the NPV is positive as long as the market share stays above 45%, which implies that with advanced marketing or my preferred method of mind control can turn the NPV around. This insight on marketing and suggestive mind control, resulting in a positive impact on the NPV, is further cemented by my calculations on the break-even point for both the models, and it tells us that by selling only 5 units of X2 and 16 of X1 in the first year, we can achieve economic profit. Clearly, the NPV is highly sensitive to the unit sales forecast for Model X2. Perhaps surprisingly, the net present value and the internal rate of return are not significantly affected by increases and decreases in the customer retention rate. The low-angled line on the graph shows the situation best based on our assumptions. I'm really worried about the sensitivity of Project X's NPV to wages growth. Just look at the graph. If there are no increments for the first few years, the positive impact on the NPV increases by 25% and IRR by 43%. As mutants, we're used to going at it alone. So Gene's calculations assumed no sponsorship. However, based on my analysis, if we can get $500,000 or more of recurring sponsorship growing at 10% per annum, not only will the NPV be positive, but Project X's IRR turns around to a positive 72.43%, a healthy incentive for venture capitalists chasing us for a share of the pie, which, let's face it, is a welcome change from being chased by humans who want to kill us.
Just like when the Prof founded his Academy for Gifted Youngsters way back in the day, there were key risks he had to acknowledge. The same goes for Project X. With the X-Men's help, I've identified 7 key risks, and with the Prof's help, have now embedded these into your mind's eye. The first 2 risks are closely linked in a triadic from a geopolitical economic perspective. Risks 3 through 5 concern our product, our competitors' responses to it, and the concomitant effects on market share through competition on price and the consumer value proposition. The spectre of high inflation, while unlikely, is still in our minds. And finally, risk 7 connects to our market concerns due to the limited Australian market size. Dr. Gray and Professor X both recommend, and Storm, Mystique and I agree 100% that building out the sponsorship angle would drastically increase Project X's NPV and IRR, and therefore its attractiveness to venture capital. Combining this with Mystique's insights into a heavy marketing campaign to increase units sold, Project X looks like a real winner.